And now, with the well-dressed corpse and the performance of Miss Eve Arden, Autolite hopes once again to keep you in suspense.
She's lying on the couch in my office. Thought I'd just let her alone until you showed up, Captain Rourke.
Well, that was considerate of you, Lieutenant.
Here we are. Inside.
Are you sure that's her?
I'm positive.
Where was she picked up? In her bedroom?
Hell's Kitchen, an alley. She lost her dress, and one of the boys gave her his overcoat.
What's your name?
My name is Ruth Franklin.
How old are you?
33.
Where do you live?
Pickwick Arms on Riverside Drive.
Do you drive a car?
Yes. A blue convertible. Mediterranean blue.
Did you go to school in this city?
Graduate school, Columbia University. I went to Stanford. I worked for the Carrington Green Advertising Agency. My secretary's name is P.D. Wright. I'm the murderer you're looking for.
Okay. I guess you're Ruth Franklin, all right.
I guess I can't blame you for not recognizing me. Did you know that 6 weeks ago I was voted one of the 10 best-dressed women in America?
Yeah, I read something about it.
I always knew that someday I would be. But when it actually happened, it was just as exciting as if it had been a total surprise. The invitation to the buffet luncheon to meet the press came on Friday. I ran right out and bought the most elegant and expensive dress I could find. And when I swept into the luncheon, everyone was looking at me, including the other 9 well-dressed women. Percy Hamilton of Radcliffe, a little bald-headed man who moved and looked like a startled chipmunk, met me as I came in.
Oh, Miss Franklin, I'm so happy to see you. Right this way, please. You're a little late, you know.
Percy, baby, you've confused me perhaps with a debutante. I work for a living.
I'm going to put you here at table 13. Oh, pardon me, Mr. Mason.
That's all right.
Mr. Mason, may I present Miss Franklin?
How do you do?
How do you do?
You two are going to be luncheon partners. Well, I'll run along.
You, of course, couldn't be anyone else but the best-dressed Franklin.
I'm not sure I like the way you said that, Mr. Mason.
My tone was not meant to imply a personal indictment, Miss Franklin. In fact, it's a commendation. You play your part very well in this racket.
Racket?
Racket.
Oh. I always draw the most charming luncheon partners. It was undoubtedly something in your childhood. They made you wear Buster Brown collars or velveteen knickers.
I wore dungarees. No, it's just that I have the best prima facie evidence anyone ever had that this is a travesty on good taste and artistic judgment.
Before I move to another table, Mr. Mason, I'd be utterly amused to hear one sentence telling me why you feel this way.
I'd be happy to oblige. You see, I was picked as one of the best-dressed men.
Mr. Mason, for the first time, I'm beginning to savor the sweetness of your judgment. Well, that was the way it began. A little careless banter while we sized each other up. And something in our measurements had meaning. Because despite speeches and cold chicken a la king and news photographers interfering with most of our conversation, we later found ourselves at the Stork Club, analyzing everything from Picasso to paper hangings. Sometime in the evening, he said he had to catch a plane somewhere, but he'd get in touch with me soon. The next morning, when I walked into my office, Petey, my secretary, was wearing the smug smile of a girl who had caught her older sister with a boy on the back porch hammock.
Seen it yet, boss?
The Gimbal ads, how were they?
I can wait.
All right, seen what?
The picture of you and Roy Mason.
Mason? I hardly spoke a word to the man. They told me to look at him as if he'd just found a cure for the common cold.
Hardly a word, huh? How'd you converse at the Stork Club? Smoke signals with your cigarette?
Petey, you're very close to being fired.
Let me read what some of the columnists say. The most handsome twosome in town last night were Ruth Franklin, the best-dressed huckster, and Roy Mason, who...
Petey, what do you know about him?
I'll save you the embarrassment of asking me to get a file on him. I've already done it. Here you are, boss. The Life and Loves of Roy Mason, assembled by Pete Wright, Girl Boswell.
All right, tell us.
He was a war correspondent, distinguished. He's written 2 books on world politics, The Long Road of Destruction and The Coming Asiatic War. I've ordered both of them so you can talk his language. He has a weekly column and a weekly radio program. Yale, 38, unmarried. Just call me quick.
Thank you, and goodbye.
I'll just leave these things here so you can drool over them. Have fun.
Petey,
Yes, boss man?
you've had your fun. Now, hands off. I'm going to marry him. I read those clippings through from beginning to end. And when I went home that night, I took both of Roy Mason's books with me. And the following night, he called me. And then it was practically every evening. And cocktails and weekends and meals and fireplaces and books and talk and talk. I knew, and I let the papers know, that Ruth Franklin finally found a man who came up to her epic requirement. I had him hooked. Now it was time to reel him in. Roy, I have some news I know you'll be interested in.
You gonna run for president?
Oh, no, nothing as small as that. I'm going to get married.
You're going to get what?
Married.
Oh? To whom?
A man named Roy Mason. I just decided.
Ruth. I'm sorry, I can't. I'm already engaged.
Who is it, Roy?
A Long Island socialite, Elizabeth Granger. You know her?
No, and I don't believe I'd want to.
Oh, Ruth, did you think we were going to be married?
Of course I did. And so did every newspaper and columnist in town.
I never pay any attention to the gossip columnists.
Well, a lot of people do.
Oh, Ruthie, now, don't take it like this. You must have known I had a life before I met you.
I should have known a lot more, I guess, than I do.
Ruth, don't lose your head over this.
What do you expect me to do? Break down and beg you to change your mind and marry me? I'm sorry, Roy. I'll go home and read an old coward play and get over it. So that's the way it was. I'd saved myself for the one man who had what I had. Brains and guts and talent. And I suddenly found out I'd saved myself for what I couldn't have. I went home, threw his books in the fireplace, and sat down to have a long look at me. And all I found was a big, ugly hurt. Then it was light and time to go to the office. Petey, what are you doing at my desk?
Oh, boss. I really didn't think you'd be in today, considering everything.
Why shouldn't I be in?
One of the best-dressed women in America doesn't find out that her boyfriend is a wolf in best-dressed clothes every day.
That's enough, Petey. Get out of here and get to work.
All right, boss. But it's happened to all of us one time or another. You should have practiced when you were young. Then you'd know more about what happened to you.
Listen, you brainless little typist. Get out of here. Go on, get out.
Okay, I'm going. But I know a good psychiatrist. He has a couch just made for people like you. You know, I could quit, too. The whole office knew about it. It pleased their tight little minds that I'd been caught off guard. Most everyone, including our 3 vice presidents, found some sort of excuse to come in and see the woman who'd been taken in love. They were disappointed when they didn't find me planning a sudden trip to London or enrolling in Helena Rubinstein's charm school. But the lower echelon was even worse, especially the stenographers. They handed me those grief-sharing eyes, usually reserved for 16-year-old girls who've been jilted by the high school fullback. But by 5 o'clock, I swallowed 2 aspirin and my pride and called Roy.
You've had 3 cigarettes and 2 martinis. Any conversation coming up? What is it, Ruth?
Newsprint, for one thing. Those nasty little black tracks on those clean sheets of white paper. They came right out and said you jilted me.
The same way they came out and said we were a torrid twosome.
Oh, yeah. It's my fault. I'll phone them tomorrow and tell them how wrong they've been.
You will not. It'd only make me look a bigger fool. Besides, they aren't the only ones. Oh, for heaven's sakes, Roy, ask that strange-looking little man to fill my glass. It's empty.
Sure. Waiter?